Hey guys, I'm Steven Krytoff. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a game developer. A long time ago, I made a free internet game called The World's Hardest Game. And basically, companies will pay you to put their logo in your game. So because that game got popular, I was able to kind of make a job out of making sequels to that game. So I was kind of like a full-time game developer for a few years. And then at a certain point, it's kind of hard to make like free internet games as like a sustainable full-time job. So at a certain point I got a real job, and now I'm working on a new game in my free time. And when it's done, I'm hoping to go back to making games full-time. So what I'm gonna do is, because this is like a very large project, it might take like 1 or 2 years to finish. Once a week, I'm gonna do a video like this where I just explain basically, it's like a development blog. So I just show what I did that week, basically. So for this first video, I'm going to talk about these NPCs, these non-player characters, because I recently did those. And basically everything else you see is just a prototype. Like the stick woman, these little hamsters, these tiles, it's all prototype. But these NPCs are pretty much might be in the actual game. The only difference is in the actual game, they won't have all the same skin color and all the same hair color. They would have like random skin color and hair color and clothes and stuff. And also you wouldn't see like 5 of them standing right beside each other. But yeah, the whole point of the NPCs is basically it's just scenery. And also there's going to be dialogue and like storyline throughout the game. So yeah, you can talk to the NPCs. It's that, like the dialogue plus the story is, or plus the atmosphere is the reason there are NPCs. So what you'll see is they have various idle animations, and they also react to when the player walks by them in various ways. So I'm just going to go through and explain how it all works. So I'll just list them off. So what they can do is they can blink, they can look in a different direction, they can tilt their head, they can walk, they pick a random spot and then they walk to a random spot. Then they also sometimes scratch their arm, and they'll scratch a random amount of times. And sometimes their whole body just flips. So what you'll see is if I walk by them, sometimes they'll flip and look at me, and sometimes their eyes will just follow me. So like if I go back and forth on this guy, his eyes are following me, but sometimes he'll flip and follow me too. See, that time he flipped and followed me, that time he did as well. And then sometimes they don't react at all. But yeah, it's just kind of like more interesting than if they were standing completely still. So I'll start with the walking. Parts of the animation are hand-drawn and parts of it are coded. So with the walking, I'm actually hand-drawing the walking. So this is like 12 frames or something I have to draw. It's just a simple walk animation. The reason I started with this character is because it's like the most simple character in the entire game. The only thing noteworthy about this walk animation maybe is I have the nipples on their own layer and the belly button, and that way it's easier to control that they move left and right and up and down. So when he walks, it's like supposed to have like a slight 3D effect where the nipples are moving left and right, and also the belly button, and it slightly moves up and down too. So yeah, that's all hand drawn. And then other parts of the animation are done with code. So when he walks, his head bobs up and down ever so slightly. So that part's done with code. So here, I'll add a few more so you can see more of them walking. And then I'll show you, so this is the head bob. So with code, I say where the neck is, and then how much it bobs up, how much it bobs down, and how fast it bobs. I can also control like everything. So like how often they walk. Right now, every 4 seconds, there's a 10% chance they walk. So what I'll do is I'll make a 100% chance. And then I'll also show you, I'll just show you what it looks like now. So now there's more NPCs and they're gonna walk more often. So now you'll see, yeah, they're walking all over the place now. They'll never walk on the same tile as someone else is. The only exception is if they're going to a certain tile and then I get right in there, then they'll walk on top of me. But as you can see, they always know where they can and cannot walk. Yeah, and then you can see the heads bobbing a little bit up and down. This is what it would look like if I really wanted to exaggerate the head bob. So I would say go way down, way up, and go way faster. So now you can clearly see the code affects the head bob. Looks pretty ridiculous. But yeah, so it's kind of cool how some stuff is done by hand and some stuff is done with code. And then another thing that's noteworthy is they know, they can figure out where they're able to walk. So they know they can't walk past here, and they know they can't walk past this wall. So when I define them, I'm actually putting them all in the same spot. I'm just giving them like a dynamic walk range property, and that means that they'll figure out where they can walk. They'll start in a random spot, and then they'll just walk around randomly in that spot, in that range. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to show about the walking. But there's quite a lot of other stuff. So apart from the walking, the body sometimes scratches his arm. So every 6 seconds, there's a 10% chance he scratches his arm. I'll say 100% chance. And then every time he scratches, there's a 50% chance he scratches again. So the amount of times they scratch is random as well. So as you can see, now they scratch their arm like more often. And you'll count the amount of times they scratch. It's not always the same. Yeah, and then another thing is the scratch animation is at a different frame rate. So I can control how fast they do things, basically. So the scratch is going really slow at 10 frames per second. If I wanted them to do it faster, I could say like 2 frames. So then it's going to divide 60 by 2. That'll be like 30 frames per second. So now you'll see they really scratch hard now. Whoa, he's really going quick now. But yeah, so that's scratch animation. So yeah, sometimes the head tilts. That's also done with code. I can control how much they tilt, how fast they tilt, and how often they tilt. So let's make it more often, and it'll be more exaggerated. So like 40, it'll be quicker too. So now you'll see they'll tilt their heads like crazy. They're really like looking around, basically. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, and then the eyes sometimes blink and sometimes look a different direction. Maybe I'll just show you if they were to blink really often, what that would look like. See, now they're blinking really, really often. And then there's the looking, it's pretty self-explanatory. Then there's the mouth. So sometimes the mouth will kind of lick its lips a bit. So I'll just do that more often to show you that. Let's say like 2 seconds. So now you see they lick their lips really often. So yeah, basically I can control everything with code or by animating it directly. And actually one thing I forgot to mention about the walking is the head bob matches, like when you walk, sometimes your head is higher and sometimes it's lower, depending on how your legs are, basically. So when your legs are fully extended, your head's going to be lower and your nipples will be lower. Then when your legs are more like straight, your nipples will be higher and your head will be higher. So what I do is I keep track of which frames is low and which frames is high. Like right here. And then depending on the frame they're on, it knows whether to move up and down the head, basically. So yeah, there's like a lot of little attention to detail, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to show with these guys. It'll look cooler when they have random colors too, though. And I got some more of them standing down here I can show you. But yeah, they just kind of do all do their random stuff. And these guys know they can't walk past here, so none of them are even trying to walk past here. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty cool. But keep in mind, these NPCs are like the simplest character in the entire game. Every single thing I do after this is going to be kind of more interesting. And yeah, since this was the first character I did, had to design it, obviously. So my design process was actually really quick because I could only really draw in one style. So I started out kind of drawing, I'll just show you. This is like a rough drawing I did, which had way too much detail. So yeah, I was testing out different things, and this is obviously one of the ones I discarded because it has too much detail and it looks silly. There's like one with like a little bit less detail. Here you can see they're in the actual game. There's way too much detail. So then I decided, okay, I need less detail. So you could see it's the same thing but with less detail. And yeah, you may notice he's like really skinny. That's because he's a prisoner. A lot of the characters in the game are going to be like malnourished and like injured because it's a dungeon. It's a medieval dungeon. Yeah. So this guy was also sick. His eyes are baggy and his nose is running. That was like a little bit too much for the first character. Yeah, so I decided like it's still too complicated because basically in my game, it's not always going to be at the same zoom. So sometimes it'll zoom out a lot more than others. So I want when it's zoomed out, I want it to look clean still. So that's why I'm choosing really bright colors, and I'm choosing like a thick outline and like a simple, everything's as simple as possible because it's so that when I zoom out, it looks okay. And also the gradients look better when they're zoomed out. When you don't use a gradient and then you zoom out, it's like a little bit harder on the eyes, kind of. But yeah. So anyway, I decided, okay, I need something more simple. I tried this. It didn't really look. The head shape is too weird. Too weird. This one, I decided, okay, I don't have to have the first guy be sick. This one guy isn't sick, but it's still too weird and too detailed. So this is the first one that's pretty close. The eyes are just too detailed. Yeah, so I tried with less detail on the eyes, and then I decided, okay, I just want different eye color and an outline. So basically, in a real game, you wouldn't design the character this quick, but for me, it kind of makes sense because this is all I can really do, basically. But what may happen is I hire an artist later, and they're going to redo everything, and it may be that the art style is just completely different. But most likely this will be in the actual game. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to explain, the hair later. Like, there's all kinds of stuff coming with the hair. I'm going to explain, like, the rats later. This is just, the rat's going to look nothing like this. I'm going to explain, like, all the different types of tiles later. Right now, there's only 3 different types of tiles. In the real game, there's going to be, like, thousands of different types of tiles. And yeah, I'm going to explain, I'm basically going to do a lot more and explain a lot more over the next videos, obviously. For next video, I'm going to have the random colors in, and I'm going to have dialogue in, hopefully. So I'm going to basically finish off most of the main code that I'll need for NPCs. So yeah, because I have a full-time job, it's really hard to make good progress. But if I want to finish the game in a reasonable time frame, I'm going to have to work a lot. So basically, you can pretty much expect that once a week, every Sunday, it'll be pretty good progress because I really do want to make this game. Yeah, so just check in once a week and see how I'm doing. And I'm welcome to feedback, obviously, as well. You can give me feedback on the actual game once more of it's revealed, but all feedback is appreciated. And obviously I don't do videos like this. This is my first one. So still gotta fix up my setup. My microphone's weird. I'm just not really used to making videos like this. But yeah, anyway, there's gonna be a lot of these videos, like 50 or 100 once a week, basically. Like 50 or 100 for 50 or 100 weeks once a week. So yeah, anyway, you can follow my journey making this game, and hopefully it does well in the end. And that would allow me to then make games full time, which is the ultimate goal. So, see you next week.